Nelson Mandela said, "A winner is a dreamer who never gives up." A winner is a dreamer who never gives up. Our dear friends, what are your dreams? Maybe you'd like to be the world's first dollar trillionaire. Or maybe you'd like to be the first person to live on Mars. Or maybe you'd like to be the person that finds a solution to the problem of the HIV/AIDS endemic that is ravaging the planet and robbing the youth of the future that they so richly deserve. A very warm welcome to you all listening to this ordinary to extraordinary challenge by Isaac Lakhi. Most people find my name fascinating, Isaac and Lakhi. So to give you the etymology behind my name, Isaac was a famous son of Abraham, peace be upon them. And one of Isaac's famous characteristics was that he was a man who liked to laugh a lot. As for my surname, Lakhi, and that is spelled Lakhi, if you take the I out of lucky, what do you get? Yeah, you get lakh. And lakh is an informal currency that is used in parts of Asia to denote 100,000. So if somebody were to say to you, I will pay you 7 lakh or something, it means I would pay you 700,000. Or they were to say to you, I'll pay you 70 lakh, it means I would pay you 7 million. So hopefully we're going to have a few good laughs on our way to becoming multi-lakhs. Today we'd like to speak to you about just 3 things. The first is the weekend of 3 miracles. Then we're going to talk about the power of money and then the power of faith. After we're going to join the dots for you. Now, when Nelson Mandela made that prolific and proverbial and powerful statement that a winner is a dreamer who never gives up, we don't think that he had any idea and any inclination as to the powerful impact that it will have upon my life. You see, after graduating from high school in 1993 as Student of the Year, I went on to become a chartered accountant in 1994. This was the same year that Nelson Mandela became president of the first democratic South Africa. And a few weeks into the course, I realized that it wasn't for me. So I dropped out and I started a business manufacturing detergents that in 4 years, by January 1998, had grown quite handsomely to the extent that we were employing 30 people and spending a few multi-lakh in annual revenue. And then one day, while traveling back from Durban, which is a beautiful city that is located and nestled in the southeastern corner of South Africa, that lies on the warm waters of the Indian Johannesburg, which is about 350 miles or 560 kilometers north of Durban. And Johannesburg is the financial capital of South Africa and Africa. And here I was in my iconic BMW M3 sports car. I was cruising along the N3 super freeway. The business was in 6th gear, my life was in 6th gear, and the car was quite literally in 6th gear. And while I was soaked in ego, what was to happen next would forever change the course and the outcome and the fate of my life. There and then, on that beautiful African afternoon, I was involved in a terrible car crash. Cops found me on the side of the road in a coma, and from there they airlifted me to a big hospital in Johannesburg. And that evening, as I was wheeled off the chopper into the emergency room, doctors said to my wife that it was unlikely that I would make it. And even if I survived that crash, because my injuries were to my head, it was very likely that I would end up with a brain disability or paralysis or stroke. But I tell you, dear friends, the human spirit is an amazing thing, for it's blessed with resilience and fortitude and tenacity. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, I woke up from the coma while in intensive care, and I recall a specific incident where I was wheeled off to the doctor's consulting room. And there I was, and I saw a team of doctors congregate behind the scenes, and they were talking in this hushed tones, and I wondered what was so coveted and top secret that they had spoken in the soft tones. And then they set me down around the table, and here there was a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, and a neuropsychologist. And what they said to me next would forever change my life. They said to me, Mr. Lakhi, wait for this. Mr. Lakhi, we believe that you've ended up with an 80% brain disability. Imagine that, and 80% brain disability. I felt that overnight I had been transformed from hero to zero. And I was angry with these doctors for the scandalous, frivolous, and the vexatious diagnosis that I had been given. And from there, things just sank into a bottomless abyss that featured an uncertain future. Now, 5 years later, by September 2003, this was after we had lost everything. I mean, the cars had gone through the roof, the business had gone through the roof, and even my beloved ego had gone through the roof. My best friend and my wife Zinni, she really wanted, of my 27th birthday, she whisked me off to Cape Town. Now, Cape Town is an idyllic and iconic city and an inspiring city that is located and nestled in the southwestern corner of South Africa. It lies on the Atlantic Ocean and it's constantly voted as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And once COVID has settled down, our dear friends, I would extend a warm welcome to you that when you consider an international destination as a holiday, that you try Cape Town out. So we waltzed into the posh Cape Sun Intercontinental spring afternoon and we realized that they had made an error with our booking. So we called for the general manager, but he wasn't in, but out comes his PA, a diamond of a lady by the name of Moira Sinclair. And we explained our problem to her and she said, "Don't worry, Isaac, it's sorted." So the porter whisks us off to the elevator and we get off on the 32nd floor, and while walking to the door or room, we only count 6 doors. And immediately I worked out that something was amiss, because I said to myself, it's mathematically impossible that for a hotel that features 400 rooms that are spread across 32 floors, it's not possible to have only 6 rooms on a hotel floor. And then as the porter opens up the door, in front of us, we see the most magnificent, grandiose and palatial hotel room that we've ever seen in our life. Moira Sinclair had just upgraded us to the presidential suite. I mean, kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers and directors of companies had stayed in this hotel room. I mean, there was every conceivable luxury in this hotel room. There was a sauna and a jacuzzi and a lounge and a dining room and a kitchen, and there were so many curtains in this room that at the age of 27, Zinni and I used to play hide and seek, and it would take me a good 5 minutes before I would find my best friend Zinni in that hotel room. So that's a Friday afternoon. So I got up to pray on Sunday morning 90 minutes before sunrise, as I usually do. And as I woke up from this deep slumber of meditation, my gaze instantly fell on my wife Zinni, who was lying like a queen on that king-size bed. And at that moment, I was overtaken by this intense emotion, because I felt that had I died in that car crash, and we had only been married for 5 weeks at the time of that car crash, and had I died at the time of the car crash, the tenure of Zinni's mourning would have been greater than the tenure of Zinni's wedding. And I said to myself that the one CEO of the universe, despite this, in his infinite mercy, wisdom and kindness, he had put Zinni there as an anchor and as a safety net and as a cushion to help me, to navigate me to get back onto my feet. And that had to be a miracle. Miracle number 1. And then as I looked out around in this palace reminiscent of a ballroom in a palace, I said to myself that the CEO of the universe is got to be speaking to me. He's got to be telling me something. And he was probably saying that, "Look, Isaac, you're young, man. You're only 27 years old. I want you now to stop feeling yourself sorry and stop crying about your condition like a child. And I want you to get up and assert yourself and assert your position in the universe. And even though you're not just part of 1 in a million or 1 in a billion, but you're part of 1 in 7 billion people on the planet. And even though you're part of this amazing 7 billion people on the planet, you matter to me, and that you to succeed." And that, friends, had to be a miracle. And then as I opened up the windows and the curtains, I took in the most magnificent and picturesque sunrise that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there in the distance were the most beautiful lavenders and purples and pinks and blues. And then I saw birds flying in formation. And then as my gaze moved eastward, it became fixated on Robben Island. Now, Robben Island was a prison, or is a prison, that is situated off the shores of Cape Town, very similar to the Alcatraz or the Rock off the shores of San Francisco. And Robben Island was home to some of the most illustrious, noble, and venerable statesmen of the 20th century. And these included Nelson Mandela, Ahmed Kathrada, and Muhammad Haji. And these valiant and illustrious and noble men, they fought for the liberation, the freedom, and the emancipation of South Africa from the tyrannical and repulsive and repugnant apartheid regime. Now, apartheid was a governance framework that sought to incarcerate the majority of the people at the expense and the exclusive benefit of a select white male minority. So by way of an example, some of the ills of apartheid were that a black, or rather a brown man like me, I couldn't sit on a bench next to a white person in a park. Another would be all the best jobs in the land, be it in the banks and insurance companies, or in the oil and gas fields, or in the diamond and gold and platinum mines. They were all reserved for the select white male minority. Another would be a brown man like me couldn't get married to a white person, and if I did, I would probably end up in jail for transgressing the Immorality Act. Unfortunately, this repugnant system of political governance came to an end in February 1990, when Nelson Mandela and others were released from prison. And 4 years later, in April 1994, Nelson Mandela went on to become the first president of the democratic South Africa. And here I was, 9 years later, our dear friends, crying like a little girl about my condition. And I thought to myself that if Mandela and Kathrada and Haji and others had to see me, they would feel embarrassed and ashamed of me, because they would probably say to themselves, what is it that we fought for? I mean, today, Isaac Lakhi can go as high as he wants to, and it's only his mind that can limit him as to how far he wants to reach. And at that point, our friends, I made a bold proclamation, oath, and promise to myself that today is the day when I say no more. No more to being banal. No more to being average. No more to being mediocre. Today is the day when I take leadership and accountability and responsibility for my life. So 24 hours later, Zini and I found ourselves back in our hometown of Johannesburg. And when we look back at our lives, we said to ourselves, how do we get our life back on track? Because even though our lives had come to an abrupt halt, the world had continued functioning as normal. And we found inspiration in Confucius's beautiful words when he said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And what we had taken the single most important, critical, and crucial step to a better life in Cape Town, that was quite literally almost 1,000 miles away from Johannesburg. So what was that? Within a short space of time, every conceivable pillar of our life was tested, from business and finance and money to relationships and health. But had we stayed immersed on an island of darkness that was embedded, engulfed, and enveloped in this ocean of opportunity and hope and potential and possibility, would we have tasted the sweetness of opportunities that were about to come our way? Of course not. That all of a sudden it was no longer the end, but merely a bend. That when we changed the way we looked at things, the things that we looked at changed. So maybe, our dear friends, maybe like us, you've lost your beloved dad, or you've lost your mom, or you've lost your business, or your health, or your job, or your career. And we know what it's like going through this test, seeing your child sleep on a coffee table and your wife in a chair because you're too broke to afford to put beds into you today, our dear friends. That never is a person struck by difficulty, hardship, mental grief, or even worry that it does not serve as a cancellation of our deeds based on our patience. That struggles and trials and tribulations are a natural feature and function of life. But what separates the winners and the champions from everybody else is that winners and champions, we refuse to give up. We refuse to surrender to defeat. That when we fall and fail, it makes us restless. And we use those negative energies to transform them into becoming relentless, into a different stratosphere, so that we can get up and try and never stop trying until we win. And unlike most people that like to read history, we, like Nelson Mandela and Ahmed Kathrada, choose to write our very own history. Come on, friends, you are here today because you want to be here. Let's acknowledge yourselves and the trials you've been through by giving yourselves a warm round of applause. Now, fast forward 5 years later to 2007, I had turned the ship around and we had reached the point of financial wellness. A lot of our friends and family and colleagues asked us, yeah, Isaac, tell us, how did you do it? How did you turn the ship around? Certainly it must have been as a certified banker dealing in complex financial instruments where you made your money, dealing in derivatives and FX and swaps. But I tell you, our dear friends, it had absolutely nothing to do with that. On the contrary, it had everything to do with my childhood and upbringing. You see, I come from a family of serial entrepreneurs, uncles who took money very seriously. That wealth was measured by money. Success was measured by money. Money was not everything. It was the only thing. Now, one of my uncles, Uncle Z, he was an entrepreneurial genius. At the age of 18, when he finished school, he bought a food franchise the next year, and by 22, he made his first million. And then by 23, he sold that franchise along with the supermarkets that he had started during that time. And with this truckload of cash that he sat on, he ended the cookie or the biscuit manufacturing game. Now, at this time, and this was in the late 80s, the cookie manufacturing business was dominated by a couple of heavyweights and big shots that were making biscuits for the top end of the market. In other words, for rich people. So when he looked at this business and how does he differentiate himself, what he did was that instead of making these cookies for the top end of the market, he started making it for ordinary people, for regular folks like you and me. And instead of, at that time, they were packing them in attractive 100 gram and 200 gram boxes. So what he did was that he put 50 times more, and he put them in a 5 kilogram bag. And then he stripped it of all the bells and whistles like coconut and chocolate and raisins, and instead he infused it with nutritional content so that a girl child could enjoy these cookies during her lunch break and then continue fortifying and strengthening and for her, making her mind even stronger while receiving a meaningful education. And then, unlike his competitors who were sending their trucks to big chain stores and supermarkets and waiting for just half a day to deliver a lousy 100 cases, what he did was that he tapped into businesses with big distribution networks. And would you believe that by the age of 30, he was able to exit this business by selling it for 160 million bucks. Imagine that. At the age of 30, he was able to exit for 160 million bucks. Now ask yourself, what could you do with 160 million bucks? I mean, for one, he could have bought 32 mansions in Beverly Hills, or he could have bought 533 Ferrari Californias, or he could have flown 8,000 times around the world in a first class seat. And herein, our dear friends, lies the 10th rule of money, and that is the law of differentiation. And what the law of differentiation says is that whatever you do, you've got to differentiate yourself in business. That when your competitors or your suppliers or your staff or financiers or your customers look at you, they've got to identify you as a trailblazer, as a rainmaker, and somebody who's an extraordinary entrepreneur. Because a business that is not suitably and significantly differentiated doesn't have any right to exist whatsoever. So that's the 10th rule of money. The first rule of money is the law of 10%. And what the law of 10% says is that 10% of what I make is mine to keep. Come on, let's say that in unison. Let's say that together. 10% of what I make is mine to keep. 10% of what I make is mine to keep. So what that basically says is that whether you're a doctor or a physician or a musician or even a magician, you've got to put away 10% of your monthly income. If you can do more than that, please do so. We've got students that are doing 15 and 20 and 25%. But whatever you do, never ever put away less than that. Now I can hear some of you are saying, yeah, but Isaac, things are tough, I'm struggling to put away 5%, or I'm not even putting away anything every month. Now think about it this way. If you earn 100 grand, and it doesn't matter where you are, you in the US in dollars, or in Canada in Canadian dollars, or in Malaysia in Malaysian ringgits, or in South Africa in rands. Let's say you earn 100 grand a year and you put away 15%. That's 15 grand that you've saved up after 12 months. Now let's say in year 2 you get a raise of 5% and your money grows by 5% from year 1. That means you would have saved up almost 20 grand. Now with year 1 you've saved up 15 grand and year 2 20 grand. That means you've saved up almost 35 grand. Now if you're forever broke, how does the prospect of having 35 grand in your bank account make you feel? Now my good friend Robin Banks, who is a global authority on mind power, he always says to me that any thought that is emotionalized becomes magnetized and attracts similar like thoughts. Any thought that is emotionalized becomes magnetized and attracts similar like thoughts. So see your law of 10% as a bag of gold. Every month you're putting in something you're putting away your 10% into this bag of gold, to the extent that after 6 months your bag becomes too big, or rather too small. So you either need to get rid of that bag and buy a bigger bag, or you need to buy additional bags to harbor and to store your gold. How does that make you feel? Now 5 years later, by 2013, I had decided to change gears from my career at the time, which is a salaried employee working as a certified banker in a bank, to that as a certified financial planner, which was really setting up my own practice and my own business. And in 5 years, this business handsomely. And by the end of 2017, one day I got a call out of the blue from the sales head at one of the big asset managers that we were writing good volumes of business for. And in that meeting, he told me about the sweeping legislative changes that were about to hit South Africa, and specifically how it would impact upon my back pocket. So by way of an example, let's say that you wanted to save for your old age, for your retirement, and you wanted to put away $1,000, $1,000 every month into an annuity, whether it's in dollars or sterling or rands or ringgits or rupees. Let's just say you wanted to put away $1,000 every month. So with the old laws, what it meant was that we would earn an $8,000 in commission out of doing that deal. $4,000 upfront and a further $4,000 over a period of 5 years. But with these new laws, what it meant was that for doing the same amount of work, I would only receive a lousy $133. Imagine that, from $8,000 to $133. So naturally, this left me livid. So that evening, before driving home, I phoned other banks and insurance companies and the financial services board in order to confirm, certify and corroborate this information. And not only did they validate it for me, they said to me that, look Isaac, you've got 90 days in which to align with these new laws. Imagine that, 90 days in which to align with these new laws. So that evening, Zinni and I, we mulled over the choices. The one was that I could stay in financial services, but that would entail working twice as hard to earn half the money, and that didn't make sense to me. The second was in a bank as a salaried employee, and that looked like quite a lucrative option at the time because I had kept my networks alive. So after a couple of telephone calls and emails and conversations, I would find myself working back in a bank. But that evening, while trying to sleep, I was tossing and turning, and I realized that if I had taken that option, I would effectively be robbing my family and me of our financial future. Because what it would entail is that instead of lifting my dreams to suit my reality, I would be downgrading my convictions to match my destiny. Imagine that. Or once again, instead of uplifting my conviction to match me, downgrading my dreams in order to suit my reality. So the next morning, as the sun moved from behind the curtain of darkness and beamed its rays of light, love, and possibility into our home, Cindy and I realized that we needed to come up with a third option. Now, by then, we had developed this personal development business that we're speaking to you about today called Lakh Global. But we realized that in order to scale it up, we would need to move it to a country or to an economic region where there was a boom that was going on so that we could. Now, 18 months before that, one day, this was during the middle of 2016, the chairman of the board of directors of Rise Against Hunger, he phoned me and he asked me whether I could represent the South African board of directors in Malaysia on the occasion of Mandela Week. Now, before we continue, Rise Against Hunger, where I served as a non-executive director on a pro bono basis, Rise Against Hunger is an amazing organization that was founded in 1998 in the US, and the purpose of Rise Against Hunger is that on an annual basis, 1 million meals in order to fill the hungry and the starved bellies of orphan school children. And since our inception, we've packed more than 500 million meals. And Rise Against Hunger has got chapters of branches in Italy, in India, in the Philippines, in South Africa, and naturally in Malaysia. Now, what Mandela Week is a global campaign to celebrate the extraordinary times of this illustrious man that we're ordinary mere mortals like you and me. We give 67 minutes of our time to noteworthy projects such as packing food to fill the bellies of hungry and starved orphan school children. And this starts around the 15th of January or the 15th of July each year, and it culminates in festivities a few days later on the 18th of July, that is Mandela's birthday. So naturally, I accepted our chairman's request to represent the South African board in Malaysia on the occasion of Mandela Week. And I tell you, that week, our dear friends, was the absolute highlight and the best week of our life, or the best week of 2016. I mean, Zinni and our son's doctor and Mr. Chairman and I, we were soaked in the beauty and the serendipity of Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, which is the world's 8th most visited city, and the people and the climate and just the general culture of the city. It all resonated so strongly with us. Little did we realize that the CEO of the universe, in his abundant mercy, wisdom, and kindness, he was giving us a sneak preview into what our lives would look like in 18 months' time when Day Zero arrived in South Africa. Now, let's come back to the current time, and this was towards the end of 2017. Zinni and I, we had to make a decision based on these three choices that we had. The first was that we could stay in financial services, only to work twice. That didn't make any sense to us. The second was that I could go back to working as a salaried employee in a bank. And the third was that we could take the road less frequently traveled, and this would entail going forward in the pursuit of our goals, dreams, and objectives. So which one do you think we chose, our dear friends? Yeah, you guessed it. We went forward in the pursuit of our goals, dreams, and objectives. And within 24 hours after receiving the funds from one of our properties that we had sold in order to finance our expedition into Southeast Asia, Zinni and Dr. and Mr. Chairman and I, we found ourselves on a magnificent Qatar Airways Boeing 777 aircraft eastbound to Malaysia. And that flight, I tell you, our dear friends, was the best flight and the highlight of our lives. I mean, the food and the in-flight entertainment and the service was unrivaled and unparalleled on Qatar Airways, which is one of the best airlines in the world. And then as we transited through Hamad International Airport in Doha, which was voted the best airport in the world in 2018, we tried to envision what our lives would look like living in Kuala Lumpur, which is the crown jewel of Southeast Asia. An absolute highlight of our lives. For one, Zinni and I found our wedding anniversary atop a revolving restaurant at the Federal Hotel in downtown KL. And as we enjoyed the shrimps and the caviar and the salad, we took in the expensive and the panoramic views of the Petronas Twin Towers that more than 20 years after it was built, it still remains the world's tallest Twin Towers. And then about 2 hours later, after this revolving hotel or the revolving floor in this hotel had moved by 180 degrees, and while feasting on the sumptuous pudding, we took in the expensive and the panoramic views of the Merdeka Tower, which is the tallest tower in Southeast Asia and the second tallest tower in the world. And then the day thereafter, we went to Johor Bahru, which is a beautiful city located in the southern part of Malaysia on the Singapore border, where we had the most wonderful aquatic experiences at Legoland Water Park. And then the day after that, we got into an Uber and we crossed the border into Singapore, where we had the most inspiring and adrenaline pumping and thrilling rides aboard Puss in Boots and Galactica and Transformers at Universal Studios. And then the next day, we found ourselves on a hop-on, hop-off bus touring the boulevards of Singapore. Now, have you ever found yourselves, our dear friends, in a position whereby you're having the most magnificent day, or in our case, 3 days of your life, but then you'll receive a funny telephone call or an email or text message, and it's so inconsequential or insignificant, but by human nature, it just messes up our day. And that's exactly what happened, because while we were listening to the commentary on how Singapore had transformed itself into this iconic city in such a short space of time, what it transpired was that my mind started entertaining a negative cycle of thoughts. Thoughts such as, what would happen if the business didn't scale and if we didn't reach our goals? I mean, would we be like the 85% of businesses that didn't make it beyond month 24? Or the 96% of businesses that didn't make it beyond year 10? Or would I end up being homeless like the man that we saw sitting on the stairs at the station where we commuted between our condo and the office? And I thought, what was his condition? How did he end up like that? Was he also once upon a time an entrepreneur? Or would we have to go back to South Africa only to be criticized, ostracized, and marginalized by the fools and the doomsayers and the naysayers of this risk? And as we were captivated and captured in this echo chamber of negativity, our thoughts were interrupted by an announcement by the bus driver who said that this tour had come to an end. But I tell you, our dear friends, there is no similarity whatsoever between poverty and wealth. The two are mutually exclusive. They travel in separate directions. For the seeds of wealth to germinate in abundance in our minds, we need to assassinate all thoughts of poverty. Let's repeat that. For the seeds of wealth to germinate in abundance in our all thoughts of poverty. And if you come with us on the Isaac Lakhi My 2 Cents Success Framework, be it our awe-inspiring books and audios, or our life-altering workshop, or our award-winning mentoring and coaching solutions, or if you just read our blogs or listen to our vlogs, we will share a framework with you that if you follow, you will become successful. So that evening, as Zini and our sons, Dr. and Mr. Chairman and I, we got onto a luxury charter bus from Singapore to go back home to KL, I realized that instead of being paralyzed by fear, it would be to be inspired by hope. And my mind went back to Nelson Mandela's beautiful words when he said that a winner is a dreamer who never gives up. And at this juncture, I was overcome by this spate of emotion and this powerful positivity in my mind. And at that juncture, I decided to set a lofty goal and an objective, and that is to become the world's #1 motivational speaker. Now, while we were on this exciting and this inspiring journey of setting these lofty goals and objectives like becoming the world's #1 motivational speaker, a voice started rambling on indefinitely with meaningless mumbo-jumbo in my head, saying things like, who do you think you are to call yourself the world's #1 motivational speaker? I mean, haven't you heard of Abraham and Moses and Isaac? Peace be upon all these amazing mavericks who changed the course of the world. Or haven't you heard of Mandela and Katrada and Bolkiah? But our dear friends, when we set that lofty goal and an objective to become the world's #1 motivational speaker, we neither did so in an egoic nor in a competitive way. On the contrary, we did so in a cooperative way, in our desire to be better today than we were yesterday, and to be better tomorrow than we are today. And when we set that lofty goal to become the world's #1 motivational speaker, it's not to become the world's #1 in our life, but rather in your life. That when you have a difficulty and an adversity and a challenge that you're going through, Isaac Lakhi will feature foremost in your minds, and that you will give us a call and you will reach out to us. And at that juncture, we recognize, realize, and discern that it may be a good idea to embed, envelop, and engulf our goals, dreams, and objectives in a definitive, deliberate, and intentional prayer. Because when our goals are clearly distilled, prayer is readily fulfilled. Let's repeat that. When our goals are clearly distilled, prayer is readily fulfilled. Now, prayer or faith, our dear friends, it's a profound thing. It's an amazing thing. It has the ability and the propensity and the capacity to change the face and the outcome of our lives. It is a powerful and a potent weapon that can accelerate us in the achievement of our goals, dreams, and objectives. So let's just share with you 2 examples of how faith transformed our lives. So one day back in 2012, one evening, we were evaluating the performance of our investments that were being funded using the law of 10%. And at the time, we were saving 12% of our monthly income, and we wanted to get that up to 17%. But when we looked at our bank statements, we realized that a lot of our money or our cash flow was being eroded by paying for silly debt, things like personal loans and credit cards and overdraft, and paying for our cars. So we set a lofty goal and an objective, and that is to become short-term debt-free in the space of 6 months. But I tell you, friends, we did it not in 6, but we did it in 5. Now, I hear some of you are probably saying, yeah, Isaac, tell us how you did that, right? So we did that by doing this. Now, a few weeks, one day I was at work and the cell phone rang and the caller ID showed that Zinni was calling. But instead of, I was expecting her usual buoyant optimism, but the caller on the other side, or the voice on the other side, said that, look, Zinni and our son's doctor and Mr. Chairman had been involved in a car crash, and it was important that I got to the hospital as soon as possible. So naturally I did that, and then 24 hours later they were discharged from hospital. And then when we debriefed, we realized that the accident wasn't as severe as we thought it was. It was just really a whole lot of cuts and bruises that were made worse by the shock of the accident. But then a few days later, the insurance company called and they said to me, look, Mr. Lakhi, we need to write this car off. And I said to them, I don't understand why. I mean, the damage was marginal to the rear end of the car. I mean, it was just a case of repairing or replacing the rear bumper and panel beating and spray painting the car. And they said, look, it's not worth repairing, we're writing this car off. So they wrote the car off, and this left me a little bit livid because I felt that it was a case of back to square one, because earlier that year I had bought a new car that cost more on the strength that towards the end of that year Zinni's car would be paid off, and with that additional disposable income I could pay it into my flashier car. But then a few days later I got a text message from the bank saying the insurance company had deposited the money into my bank account. So with that proceeds, I used it to settle my account, or to settle my car rather. So all of a sudden things weren't too bad. The main thing is that Zinni and the boys didn't get hurt in that accident, and then the second thing was that my car was now paid off. Now a few weeks later, Zinni and I, on a beautiful September sunny African afternoon, Zinni and I had received delivery of her new stunning car, and while the salesman, a diamond of a man by the name of Sean Nodier, was leaving our home, he casually mentioned to me, oh yes, Mr. Lakhi, I forgot to mention to you that if you purchase and finance this brand of car, which is a Hyundai, during this month, which is a September, your name goes into a draw in order to win this car back in cash. In other words, we will settle the bank on your behalf. So when I listened to this, I just chuckled. I scoffed at it, and I said to myself, I mean, listen, my surname is Lakhi. It's not Lucky. But then, lo and behold, a few weeks later, on a beautiful Saturday morning, we're out on a family run. And then, as luck would have it, our youngest son, Mr. Chairman, he needed the loo. So we stopped at a posh 5-star hotel, and Doctor then took Mr. Chairman to the loo. And Zinni and I, we lounged at the pool, and we ordered coffees and milkshakes for the boys. And then guess what? The phone rings, and who's on the phone? It's Sean, and he's ecstatic, euphoric, and elated as he conveys a wonderful news, and he says, "Congratulations, Mr. Lakhi, you've just won the car." So here in our dear friends lies the first rule of faith, and that is we've got to know what it is that we want from life. We've got to know what it is that we're asking the CEO of the universe for. Now I challenge you to go and stand under a waterfall or under a mountain or on a beach and work for a couple of days and work out what is it that you want out of your life. What do you hope to achieve out of this exciting and this wonderful trajectory called life? Now once you've worked that out, the next step is then document it, put it down in writing, and then put it onto your laptop, your cell phone or your smartphone and your tablet. And then start memorizing it and internalizing it and repeat it to yourself daily. And then visualize receiving it. 10 minutes every morning before you get up and 10 minutes every evening before you go and sleep. See these goals and the realization of these goals, dreams and objectives in your mind. Because when our hearts truly believe, there is no limit to what the one CEO of the universe will help us achieve. That is far beyond what our minds can conceive. Let's repeat that when our hearts truly believe, there is no limit to what the one CEO of the universe will help us achieve. That is far beyond what our minds can conceive. Now, have you ever wished for one thing in your life and instead you receive something else? Yeah, I know it's happened to everybody at some time in our lives, right? Now, as I approached the occasion of my 40th birthday, I really wanted a Ferrari. And we even went to a Ferrari dealership and I looked at various models like the 458 Italia and the California and the Spider. And you can even see one of these beautiful sports cars on your screen. And then as my 40th birthday arrived, my prayer was indeed accepted. But instead of getting the red one, the Ferrari, as you can see, I got the green one, or the bicycle. And when this thing arrived, I didn't know whether I should be livid and annoyed or ecstatic and elated. But herein, friends, lies the second rule of prayer, and that is we've got to be patient, engulfed in the understanding that everything in the universe happens at its appointed time. And that sometimes we get what we need and not necessarily what we want. Because what that bicycle meant was that a few weeks later after this incident, after receiving this bicycle, I went for my annual medical to the doctor, and he said to me that just as well as I had taken to cycling, because what had happened was that my cholesterol levels had gone off the charts and I had become a heart attack. We have our students that come to us and they say, "Yeah, Isaac, I understand this concept of faith and the importance of believing. Can you share with us a prayer that will ignite us with excitement and enthusiasm and infuse us with energy and vitality and that will get our pulses going?" So what we've done is that we've come up with the prayer of Isaac Lakhi, and we've taken the highlights and snippets from the exciting and the awe-inspiring and the life-altering Isaac Lakhi My 2 Cents Success Framework, and then consolidated it and integrated it and condensed it into the famous prayer of Isaac Lakhi. And it goes like this. O CEO of the universe, help us to say words of truth in the face of the mighty, and to refrain from speaking ill to gain the applause of the weak. And let us not accuse our adversaries of treachery because their opinions oppose ours. O one CEO of the universe, should you grant us wealth, do not take away our happiness, and should you make us successful, do not take away our wisdom. And should you grant us abundant might, let us always make money our slave. And should you grant us an abundance of might, do not take away our wisdom. And should you give us abundant money, let us always make money our slave and never our master. Instead of going after sustenance, help us pursue excellence. Help us to go after our passion, engulfed in the understanding that where passion goes, money automatically flows. Cause us to be inspired by reading the history of others that will motivate us to write our own history. O CEO of the universe, should you take away our wealth, do let us keep our hopefulness, and should we fail, do let us keep the power of determination. Remind us always that failure is a trial that precedes success, that failure is not the opposite of success, but that it is part of it, and that we should never stop trying until we win. Instead of seeing your tests as the end, let us see it as a bend, because when we change the way we look at things, that things that we look at will change. Instead of lowering our dreams to suit our reality, inspire us to lift our convictions to match our destiny. O one CEO of the universe, should you take away the blessing of good health, do let us keep the blessing of faith. Should we have harmed others, grant us the courage to apologize. And should others harm us, do bless us with the courage to forgive. Grant us the persistence away of mountains as we journey through life, leveraging the ore from our minds and the currency from our mints. Grant us a heart that is a magnet for good and is a repository for good, and a heart that is a conduit that reflects your light through. O one CEO of the universe, let our prayers always be definitive, deliberate, and intentional, anchored in faith. Help us to be patient, engulfed in the understanding that everything in the universe happens at its appointed time, that you give us what we need and not necessarily what we want. Remind us when our hearts truly believe there is no limit to what you will help us achieve that is far beyond what our minds can conceive. Amen. Friends, as we undertook and promised at the beginning of this presentation, we said to you that we're going to speak about three things, and that is a weekend of three miracles, the power of money and the power of faith. Whereafter, it's now time to join the dots for you. Now, before we continue, we've got a question to ask you. For you, those of you whose minds are still fixated on the beautiful song that you heard in the prayer of Lakhi, that song was made by a diamond of an artist by the name of John Dreamer. And that song was made in 2015. Now, we've got a question to ask. What has changed in your life in the 5 or 10 years since Dreamer made that song? Do you know what your problems are? If so, when are you going to solve these problems? What do you need more of in order to solve these problems? Do you need more time? Do you need more money? Do you need more energy? Do you need better relationships? Now, what happens? Wouldn't you, guy, somebody who can take you from where you are to where you want to be? What if we told you that we've developed an award-winning, awe-inspiring, and life-altering solution that is going to take you from heedlessness to wakefulness, from ordinary to extraordinary, and from working class to world class? That we've developed a tactical, easy to understand, and easy to implement solution that is going to take you from point A to point B. What would you say? So, we'd like to introduce you to the Lakhi My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Solution. And what the My 2 Cents Diamond and Mentoring Solution is, to best explain to you what it is, let's first tell you what it's not. Now, what most mentoring and coaching solutions, and some phenomenal market, the problem is that it only focuses on one area of your life. And that could be on investing, be it in crypto or in property or in equities, or it could help you with relationships or with your health. Now, while this is a wonderful thing, what happens is that it creates an imbalance in our lives to the extent that it will affect the other parts of our life. Now, think of this as a table. A table has got how many pillars? Yeah, it's got 4 pillars. Now, what happens if one pillar or one leg breaks? Yeah, it creates an imbalance in the table, and it forces the other 3 pillars or the other 3 legs to work harder, and eventually the entire table is going to collapse. So the Lakhi My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Solution, it's an exciting 360 solution that is built on the 4 masteries of success, and that is money mastery, mind mastery, relationship mastery, and personal mastery. And ultimately, the objective of the Isaac Lakhi My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Solution is to help you live a more meaningful, measurable, significant, and sustainable life. Now, in the first mastery of success, which is money mastery, we're going to share with you the 10 rules of money. Now, we have rules of money, which is the law of differentiation and the law of 10%. And in the law of 10%, you will recall that we said, what happens if you've saved up just 35 grand after 2 years? What can you do with 35 grand? So you can take 30 grand and you can go and buy a condo for 300 grand. So you can give the bank a deposit of 10%, which is 30 grand, and you can use the balance that you can finance. And then with the remaining 5 grand that you have, you can pay for the transfer fees to an attorney, or you can put furniture into the property, or you can make enhancements and adjustments to the property that will increase its value and that will allow you to command a higher yield or a higher rental. And if you do this every 2 years, within a space of 10 years, you would have accumulated 5 properties, and in the space of 20 years, you would have accumulated 10 properties. Now imagine you are a millennial and you're 35 years old now, and fast forward to 20 years later, the only things that have changed is that you're a little bit more grayer and wiser with money, but the main thing is that you've invested and you're receiving rental income from 10 additional properties. How does that make you feel? So remember, any thought that is emotionalized becomes magnetized and attracts similar like thoughts. So in addition to sharing those 2 rules of money with you, we're going to share the additional 8 rules of money with you and show you how to grow and differentiate your money. Now in the next mastery of success, which is personal mastery, and this is the power pillar, have you ever found yourself in a position whereby you see 2 people, let's say both age 40, and both have got similar access to acumen and resources and opportunities, yet one will get so much more out of life than another? Now, in studying our tribe of our entrepreneurial uncles and the dozens of other entrepreneurs that we studied, we're going to share with you ways and tools and techniques in which you can accelerate your way through your journey of life. So we're going to share with you things like power happiness and how to overcome loneliness, because we're living in an era where loneliness is becoming a big thing. So we'll share with you the 4 tools and the techniques that you can use in order to overcome loneliness and how to transform this into happiness. But happiness, dear friends, it's not a destination, it's a journey. So once you reach the mountaintop of your desires, we'll share with you the additional 3 techniques to use in order to remain sustainably happy. Then we're going to go on a beautiful journey of power fasting, and how we're going to share with you how we, by leveraging the power of power fasting, we got to enjoy the thrilling and the imposing and the magnanimous Swiss Alps aboard the train from Zurich to Geneva, and then we got to take in the sights and sounds of London to enjoying Champions League football or soccer at London's Wembley Stadium. And then we're going to share the power of faith with you. So far we've spoken about the 2 rules of faith. We're going to share with you the additional 5 rules of faith. And then we're going to also share with you the times when prayer is readily accepted. And then this culminates in power sleeping. And we're going to share with you the different types of the night when, in terms of our REM or rapid eye movement cycle, we can show you ways on how to identify, leverage, and exploit the best times of the night to get that sleep in, so that when you get up in the morning, you are ready to receive the success that awaits you. In the next success mastery, which is mind mastery, we're going to share with you the ways on how to develop a championship mindset. So the first thing we'll do is that we'll share with you the different mindsets and then ways to identify which mindset that offers and transform yourself into a championship mindset. Now, the last thing that you want to happen is that once you've reached a championship mindset is to go backward into the mindset that you were, into this comfort zone that you were. So we're going to share with you the additional techniques to use in order to ensure that you remain sustainably in that championship mindset. And then we're going to identify the 4 most common fears and the 10 most common types of failures. Because as you ascend the ladder of success, it's only natural and normal that you're going to go through some fears and failures. And we want you to become successful with failure, because failure is not the opposite of success, but that it is part of it. So we're going to helping you identify the most common types of fears and failures. We'll share with you the ways on how to nip it in the bud. The ladder of success, it's only natural and normal that you're going to go through some failures. And if you want to double your rate of success, you've got to quadruple your rate of failure. And we spoke personally of our own fear of failure while we were on that hop-on-hop-off bus in Singapore. And then this will culminate in the Friday of Good Realizations. The Friday of Good Realizations is an actual physical and a solo journey that I went on, and it's a beautiful journey that will unlock a myriad of realizations for you that will create a framework for you for the next 5 to 10 years of your life, and it will give you like a compass and a step-by-step process on how to navigate the next 5 to 10 years of your life. Then this culminates, which we call the relationship mastery, the success component. Now, have you ever found yourself in a position whereby you try to impress somebody, be it a boss or a colleague or a partner, or heaven forbid even your mother-in-law, only to fail hopelessly? Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to share with you ways on how to create just one strategic relationship. And when you do this, all your other relationships will automatically, superfluously, and instantaneously correct themselves. And then we're going to go on a beautiful journey of self-discovery. Now, most of the time, most of us are so busy empowering the plans of others that we actually lose sight and lose focus on who we are, or we don't know who we are. And ultimately, the objective is to close the gap on who we are and the amazing person who we are destined to be. So while we're on this amazing journey of self-discovery, we're going to work out what is our purpose, what is our why, and then we'll work out what is our values and our framework and our vision and our mission and our unique value proposition. And then we're going to get in touch with our inner self. And then once you've found your inner self, ways on how to build a strategic relationship with your authentic self. And then we're going to do an SW analysis and work out what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses, and then ways to strengthen our strengths and weaken our weaknesses so that it can help us to propel us in driving the life of our dreams, goals, and objectives. And then we're going to go into the different social styles. And once we've identified which social style you are, we're going to work out ways, and we'll share with you the techniques on how to work out what the social styles of others are, so that it will help you to build more meaningful, lasting, and significant relationships. And then while you're on this exciting journey of self-discovery, it's only natural and normal that you're going to want to set up your goals and your dreams and your bucket list. So again, we'll share with you the techniques on how to come up with this inspiring bucket list. And we're not talking about the cliched ways of doing things, but new and innovative ways. And for example, like setting your goals on just one specific day of the year. And we're not talking about New Year's Day resolutions. Just one day of the year that you earmark and you ring fence to set your goals for the next year. And this will help you to accelerate you in the achievement of your goals, dreams, and objectives. Now, dear friends, with most of the world's scientists have found that most of the world's working class people, 71% of the world's working class people are divorced. So that means that 7 out of 10 adults walking around out there are divorced. Now, this is a concern for us because 85% of the world's people, or rather 85% of the world's dollar billionaires and millionaires, are happily married with 2 or more children. Now, if 85% are happily married with 2 or more children, why is it that 7 out of 10 adults in most working class societies and communities around the world are divorced? Now, you've all heard those beautiful expressions that the family that eats together stays together, the family that plays together stays together, and the family that prays together stays together. So we're going to share with you the tools and the techniques in bringing to life that by eating together, praying together, and playing together, not only will you stay together, but it will help you to build a winning and a dynamic habitat and ecosystem, so that together and collectively as a family, you will be pulling in the same direction, and it will help you to achieve the life of your goals, dreams, and objectives. Now, dear friends, whether you're happy or married, or whether you're newlywed or nearly dead, we invite you to enroll to become a member of our award-winning, awe-inspiring, and life-altering My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Club. If you haven't done so already, please visit the link that appears at the bottom of this page, which is products/club. Now, for those of you that are interested in working out, but now how do I get my hands onto this Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Club, right? Now, you want to know how. You could be sitting in Singapore, or you could be sitting in London, or you could be in Hong Kong, or in New York, or in LA. How do you get your hands on, and how do you become part of this acclaimed My 2 Cents Club, right? Now, in the past, if you wanted to become a part of an exclusive club like this, you would typically register to become a student, and then what would happen is that you would get up early on a Saturday morning, and you would have to get out of your pajamas and brush your teeth and then drive to a convention center or to a hall like the one you see on the screen, on your screen. And then typically content, and even though it's beautiful content, but content would be forced down your throat for as long as 13 hours a day for up to 6 days at a time. Now, ordinarily, the mind cannot synthesize and absorb and digest so much information, and even if it is able to, it needs time in order to implement it, right? And you would be investing in a solution like this, so because you want to see sustainable results, right? I mean, after all, if that doesn't serve your purpose, then why invest in it in the first place? So one of the unique things of the Lakhi My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Club is that all of our coaching solutions are delivered digitally. All you have to do is you need to be in front of your laptop, your tablet, your smartphone, or your TV on a Tuesday of each week, and all our sessions are delivered to you by live stream. Now, as far as our membership is concerned, it's broken down into 3 tiers. The first is Lakhi 7, and what Lakhi 7 consists of is that if you take up this mentoring tier, you will receive a monthly My 2 Cents coaching session with me, Lakhi. Each session is 60 to 90 minutes in duration, and like I mentioned, it will be delivered live stream. It will be live streamed to you. It's all done in a closed, gated group, so that you can feel comfortable. And in these groups, there's a lot of mutual respect, tolerance, and understanding, so you can feel in a sense of belonging in a community of like-minded individuals. The next thing you will receive is unlimited access to our My 2 Cents digital library, and here we've got a wealth of solutions that we constantly build on, be it blogs or vlogs on common problems that you may be experiencing. And then you're going to receive a 50% discount to the Lakhi My 2 Cents Success Framework Workshop, and we'll come to that in a moment. And then you will receive access to our chat community in our Facebook community, and that is priceless. And the importance of that is that you can network and interact with other people that could be going through similar problems that you are, be it on money or relationships, or how to build a championship and a dynamic and a winning ecosystem, or how to overcome loneliness, or how to build that family, or how to get your mindset right. There's a myriad of problems that we will help you to solve. In the next tier, which is our Lakhi 77 tier, you will receive a fortnightly group mentoring session with me, Lakhi. So this will be twice a month. In addition, you will receive a complimentary monthly My 2 Cents audio, Now our audios are amazing audios that are, each one is 30 to 45 minutes in duration. It's on an MP3, so you can listen to it while on your jog or commuting to work or to see a client. And it covers an array of topics that will help you to achieve that life of your goals, dreams, and objectives. Each one is a technical, easy to understand, and easy to implement solution that will help to get you from where you are to where you want to be, from heedlessness to wakefulness, from ordinary to extraordinary, and from working class to world class. In addition, you will receive voting power. It's your club after all, so you will have a say in how the club is run. In addition to that, you will also receive a free access to our acclaimed Isaac Lakhi My 2 Cents Success Framework workshop. You will receive a free complimentary ticket on an annual basis to it. And what the workshop is an exciting, awe-inspiring, and life-altering workshop. It's a 6-week workshop that we host on a Wednesday of each week. It's for 3 to 4 hours in duration, and it covers the 4 pillars of mastery. And then we have the Lakhi 777 tier. Now the Lakhi 777 tier, what this has been done is it's been purposefully and specifically built for all the people out there that have got an amazing story to tell. Things like maybe how you've survived cancer, or maybe how you've brought a business back from the dead, or maybe how you or conquered Mount Everest or Mount Kilimanjaro, or tips on how to win the New York Marathon. Whatever the case may be, you may have an amazing story that you'd like to showcase and to share with the rest of the world, but you just don't know how to do it. So this one has been built specifically for you. So how we do this is that we will set up a one-on-one mentoring solution with me, with Isaac Lakhi. You then present your story to us, and then we will take out the highlights and the most salient points of that and build it into a beautiful, cathartic story. And then once that is done, and once you've signed off on it and you're happy with it, we will then showcase it to all of our other students, be it in our workshops or in our diamond mentoring and coaching solutions, or on our videos or our blogs or vlogs or in our books, so that other people can benefit from your amazing and bespoke experiences. You will receive all the benefits of the Lakhi 77 tier. So in summary, with the Lakhi 7 tier, you will receive a monthly group mentoring session with me. On the Lakhi 77 tier, you will receive bi-monthly group mentoring sessions with me. And on the Lakhi 777 tier, this has been built specifically for people who have got wonderful stories that they would like to share with the world. So you will receive a one-on-one mentoring session with me. On all of them, you will receive amazing benefits such as complimentary access where applicable to the Isaac Lakhi My 2 Cents Success Framework workshop. You will receive a monthly My 2 Cents audio. You will receive access to our vlogs and blogs. In addition to that, you will become part of our chat community. You will receive voting power and much, much more, because we're constantly adding to the myriad of exciting benefits in the My 2 Cents Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Club. Now, for those of you that would like to know, now Isaac, tell me, what is my investment in this, right? So we welcome you to visit our website. The link is isaaklakhi.com/. Why we're not sharing the prices here for you is because we are aware that some of our students may be sitting in the USA. So what we've done is that we've localized the currencies so that it shows in your local currency. So you can be in the US and it will show in US dollars, or in Canada it will show in Canadian dollars. In Australia, it will show in Australian dollars. In Hong Kong or Singapore, in Hong Kong dollars or Singapore dollars. In Malaysia, it may show in ringgits. In South Africa, in rands. In India, in rupees. In Russia, in rubles, and so on and so on. So we've localized those currencies so that it can show in the currency, your home currency, to make you comfortable with that. Now, we usually get some very interesting stories from our students, or questions from our students. And the first one is, what happens if I want to cancel for any reasons? Okay, so firstly, what we'd like to impress upon you is that the My 2 Cents Club is a member-based club, and you're buying 12 months membership. Now, if you want to cancel, there's two parts to it. If you want to cancel after you believe that this is not for you, what you can do is that all you got to do is just send us an email and we will cancel happily for you, and we will refund whatever money that you've put in. We will refund it back to you in full. Now the next question is, what happens if you want to cancel thereafter? Let's say after 2 months or 3 months. Now if this happens, just give us 30 days calendar notice that you want to cancel and that you're out. And we want you to know that there are no long-term contracts. Even though it's an initial 12-month membership, there's no long-term contracts. If you're out, just give us 30 calendar days notice. So if you're in February, we'll cancel at the end of March. If you're in November, we'll cancel at the end of December, and so on. And if you paid in advance, you can gift your club membership to anybody else. The next question is the opposite. What happens if I want to continue after 12 months? So this is a nice problem to have. So it means you're really benefiting from our mentoring and coaching solutions. There's lots of those students that benefit from this. So if you'd like to continue beyond the 12 months, you're welcome to do some membership by sending us an email, and we'll do that. The next question is, what happens if I close my eyes, or if I become sick or disabled or lose my job, or just want to temporarily suspend my membership? Now, if you close your eyes, your membership automatically terminates. And if you've paid your membership fee in advance, like annually, then you can give the balance of your membership to someone else in your last will and testament. If you become disabled or sick or lose your job, we still like to coach and mentor you, because this is when you really need somebody to hold your hand. So if you still want to cancel, just give us 30 days notice. And when you want to come back, the doors are always open to you. Now, what happens if you want to suspend your membership for any reason whatsoever, like if you're going on holiday for an extended time, or if you're going on a sojourn or sabbatical? If this happens, you can suspend your membership and then reactivate it when you get back. And if you've paid in advance, like say you pay 6 months at a time in advance, what we'll do is that we'll simply extend the term of your membership. Then how do I pay for my membership? Firstly, don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as an invaluable investment that you're making in yourself. So you can pay through a secure payment using your Visa card or MasterCard, any Visa or MasterCard in the world. And all our transactions go through verified by Visa or MasterCard Secure. And the other prices will display in your local currency. So let's say you're in Canada, it will show in Canadian currency. Headquarters is in South Africa. When you're checking out, the price will automatically then convert to South African Rand. However, the final bill will always still be in your local currency. And then here's a nice question. Where is Lakh Global based? We've got offices throughout the world. In North America, we're in Los Angeles. In Southeast Asia, we're in Kuala Lumpur. In Malaysia, and in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, we're in Cape Town. So when are the coaching and mentoring sessions held, and how long is each session? Yeah, that's a good question. On Lakhi 7, it's held on the first Tuesday of each month. Once again, on Lakhi 7, the coaching and mentoring sessions are held on each Tuesday, or rather on the first Tuesday of each month. On Lakhi 7 and on Lakhi 77 and Lakhi 777, it's held on the first and the third Tuesday of each month. If you want to know the times, once you've registered, we will send you all the times. And what's more is that if you miss a session, or if you want to repeat a session, all the sessions are recorded, so you can always go back to it. How long is each session? Each session is only 60 to 90 minutes in duration. The next question is, who determines the agenda to these sessions? Like, what do you discuss at these sessions? So now this is a terrific question. Now it's your club, so you will have the opportunity to discuss whatever it is that you're going through at these sessions. And it's based on the 4 masteries of success. So in the preceding session, we'll run a few of recipients. They will dictate what it is that we will discuss at the next session. Now, if I have a burning question, what do I do? So all you got to do is send your questions or hello at Isaac before the mentoring and coaching sessions, and we'll answer it for you during the coaching sessions. Also, you can post your question in our live chat, and you can also post it in our intimate Facebook groups. Now, what happens if I want to upgrade or downgrade across any of the membership tiers? So let's say you want to upgrade from Lakhi 7 to Lakhi 77. So all you got to do is just send us an email and we'll do it for you. Similarly, if you want to downgrade, so let's say you're on Lakhi 777 and you want to go down to Lakhi 77, just send us an email and we'll do it for you. Just remember that it takes effect 30 calendar days after receiving your request. If you haven't done so already, our dear friends, whether you're happy or married or newlywed or nearly dead, we encourage you and invite you to apply to and enroll to become a member at isaac.lakhi.com/products/club. Now, there's different ways of paying for this. If it suits you best, you can pay for your membership fee on a monthly basis, where we'll just debit your card on a monthly basis. Alternatively, 3 months in advance, so on a quarterly basis. If you pay quarterly in advance, be it on Lakhi 7, Lakhi 77, or Lakhi 777, we will give you 1 month free. In other words, you buy 3 months and we will only bill you for 2 months. The next thing is that you can pay biannually in advance, so you buy 6 months and you only pay for 4 months, so we give you 2 months free. Or the next option is that you pay annually, so you buy 12 months and we only bill you for 8. So that's a terrific thing. Now what's more, if you're on Lakhi 7 and if you pay annually, 7 lucky people will automatically be upgraded to Lakhi 77. Similarly, if you're on Lakhi 77 and if you pay annually, you'll automatically be upgraded at no cost to Lakhi 777. Let's repeat that. If you pay annually on Lakhi 77, you will be upgraded automatically at no cost to Lakhi 777. Now, if you pay annually on Lakhi 777, what happens then? What's the incentive for you? This amazing man is. Yeah, we spoke about him consistently throughout this presentation. This is Nelson Mandela, one of the most acclaimed men and statesmen of all time. Now, back 15 years ago in 2005, the Nelson Mandela Foundation released what they call the Madiba Legacy series. It's an exciting 8-part comic series. They've become highly coveted and lustful and collector's edition comedy, or rather comics. And each comic is accredited or beautifully showcased in a beautiful limited edition laminated series by CGC Comics in the US. And you can see one of these beautiful, timeless and outstanding comics. Each person that signs up to become a Lakhi 7 member will automatically, or rather a Lakhi 777 member, will automatically receive a complimentary version of the Madiba Legacy series. What's more is that one lucky person will receive the 8th part, which is personally autographed by Mandela's best friend, Dr. Ahmed Kathrada. If you haven't done so already, our dear friends, we invite you to enroll at isaac.lakhi.com/products/club. Who is Isaac Lakhi, my 2 cents diamond mentoring and coaching solution for? Millennials. We believe that millennials are the heartbeat, the DNA, and the nucleus of the. Do you know that in terms of a study done by Bank of America, it was found that 1 in 2 millennials in North America, that is 48% of millennials in North America, have saved up $10,000 or more. And that furthermore, 1 in 7 millennials, that's 15% of millennials in North America, have saved up $100,000 or more. Now, while those are sobering and comforting statistics, what happens if adversity knocks on your door the way it knocked on my door more than 20 years ago? What then? Did you know that in terms of statistics from Liberty Life, the insurance company, it was found that the fastest growing cancer in the world today is breast cancer in men? Imagine that. The fastest growing cancer in the world today is breast cancer in men. And that furthermore, that when companies typically reorganize themselves and restructure and consolidate and merge with other companies, who are the first to become casualties of this restructuring? Yeah, you guessed it, it's millennials, right? And the lives of millennials comes apart like the beads of a rosary. So what we're saying to you is that instead of replacing reliance on big business for your everyday business, we invite you to join us mere mortals, so that instead of placing this reliance on big business for your everyday business, place reliance on yourself by coming up with a solution for yourself that will help you to live the life of your dreams. If you haven't done so already, our dear friends, please enroll at lakhi.com/products/club. Generation X, that's my generation. Now, Generation X, we usually find ourselves in the formidable and the valiant position of usually looking after the generation above us, and that's our parents, and the generation below us, and that's our kids. And while that's a good thing, and we always encourage our students to look after your parents, for it's a noble thing to do, and it will always come back to benefit you later in your life. What happens is that it usually puts challenges on our cash flow to the extent that we're either not saving enough or we're not saving at all for it. 91% of the world's people will not be able to afford retirement. Now think of it this way. If you're 45 years old now, you're Gen X like me, and your organization, your employee says that you've got to retire at the age of 60, whether you like it or not. Even if you're in good health, you've got to retire at 60 so that they can make way for the next batch of, or the next crop of employees coming into the work system. You've got to retire at 60. That means you've got 15 years or 180 paychecks that you're going to receive from now up till retirement, and you'll never receive another paycheck for the rest of your life. How does that make you feel? So instead of being part of the 91% that could potentially eat from a dustbin while sitting on the pavement, we invite you to join us mere mortals for award-winning, awe-inspiring, and life-altering diamond mentoring and coaching solution, so that come retirement, you will be part of the 9% that will be able to sit like a feasting from her platter. If you haven't done so already, dear friends, we invite you to enroll at our website, lakhi.com/products/club. Does anybody know who these two amazing men are? Yeah, we've spoken about them consistently throughout this presentation. These are arguably the two greatest men of the 20th century. It's President Nelson Mandela and Dr. Ahmed Kathrada. Now, a few years ago, we had the opportunity of doing a gig with Dr. Kathrada, and after that, delivering the joint keynote with him, we received this beautiful statement that we are extremely pleased with epitomized by Mr. Lakhi. Now there you have it, a wonderful ovation from arguably the two greatest men of the 20th century. But respectfully, dear friends, we believe that there's somebody more important than these two great men, and that is our mother. And even though she neither belonged to the millennial nor Gen X generations, at the age of 72, our mother signed up to become a student of our award-winning Diamond Mentoring and Coaching Club, and after implementing our tactical, easy to understand and easy to implement solutions, and after she started seeing the results in her life, she said that my only regret was that I did not get onto Isaac's highway to heaven sooner. Imagine that. My only regret was that I did not get onto Isaac's highway to heaven sooner. So friends, we are so confident about the solutions that we build that in addition to selling it to the two greatest men of the 20th century, we'll sell it to our own mother. But just hang on, there's something else. We've built in an additional level of certainty and security that if you're not completely happy and if you're not convinced after the first session that this is for you, we will refund you your money in full. Simply send us an email along with the content that we've sent to you, and we will put 100%. If you haven't done so already, we invite you to enroll at isaac.lakhi.com/products/club. Before we go, one more thing. Nelson Mandela said that there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than its treatment of its children. There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than its treatment of its children. So inspired by this, we formed Africa Youth Club. And the purpose of Africa Youth Club is, or rather, what Africa Youth Club is, it's an inspiring Johannesburg-based non-profit organization and philanthropy under the sterling leadership